Hello, all you beautiful and amazing people. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Hyde, and this is Hide and Seek Media, where we bring you a blue collar, common sense perspective on current events, politics, sports, entertainment, culture, and so much more. Today, we're going to have a reaction video on the PBD Podcast where Jimmy Dore and Tim Pool both go on the show together and talk about the current events of what's going on this week. Mostly, the title says it's their reaction to the Israel war. We're going to talk about that too, because apparently, Hamas did a surprise attack in Israel, and now Israel claims they are at war. Now, this podcast is 2 hours long, so we're going to do multiple videos here. I'm just going to basically break down what they talk about in the Israel war in this video, and then the other videos will come out later. So let's jump right into their podcast and see what they have to say about the Israel war. All right, here we go.
Joining us on Saturday morning, 9 a.m., 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, to hear two legends at the same time in one podcast number 312 with Tim Pool and Jimmy Dore in the house. We're going to have a very unique show. We got a lot of things to cover today.
Oh, this is going to be so good, man. I've seen Jimmy Dore on Tim Pool's show, but to have them here with PBD and Vinny and Adam and all them, it's going to be really, really good. I can't wait for this.
We had a great event with you last night, your event in Miami. That was fantastic with yourself, Matt Gaetz, O'Keefe, Luke, and my little pharma guy.
Okay. I haven't got to see that yet, so I'm definitely going to be checking that out too.
Big pharma.
Ian,
Ian, who is funny as hell. Yeah, he's funny as hell. We had a good time. But, it was fantastic yesterday. Just listen to everybody, the exchange. I thought it was a great event.
I think you stole the show. You had that great, we'll call it speech about, you said you don't pray for tolerance anymore. You have to hope, all that stuff. The crowd went nuts. They all stood up, gave you a standing ovation.
Big standing ovation, PBD.
Standing ovation at a podcast is pretty freaking impressive.
Tim, congrats, man. The event was awesome. And just on a personal note, your boys, Luke, Ian, Seamus, even awesome crew you got, man. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, I mean, and Seamus hosts Freedom Tunes. He produces that's his own show. Luke, of course, of We Are Change. So they're running their own business as well. To be able to have them come down is an honor and a privilege, as well as you, Patrick. It was just a dream come true, man. And talk about the timing. We booked this. We've been working on it for a year, and so when this past week happened with Matt Gaetz fighting in Congress, and then I'm looking at the calendar, I'm like, we are very lucky. We have Matt Gaetz.
Sometimes God's looking down on you.
Yeah, that was great. Jimmy, how you been, Jimmy?
Matt Gaetz is a terrorist, and he's really creating chaos. And I don't know why he doesn't follow the norms. I'm really offended. And, the Democrats don't have these kind of problems. They all fall in line in lockstep, and they're proud of it, right?
Pfizer, they're real nice. He should just be nice to the lobbyists and the pharmaceutical companies. And,
I thought he was way more likable than the media portrays him. He was actually, he actually went to college with me right around the same time. We did the math there, but
don't you find
congratulations on landing that right at the
shout out to Matt
crescendo
Gaetz,
of it.
Didn't they go after? So they went after Matt Gaetz like a year or two ago because they knew they couldn't control him, and they tried to pin him out of being a pedophile and stuff. And that's the game. They did Julian Assange. They're doing it to Rusty Rockets. They're doing it to. They did it to oh, that's right. They already tried to do that to him, and it's because they knew they couldn't control him. And so I loved when he gave that speech on the floor talking about I'm gonna this body is bought by big donor money, and they booed him. Only place in the world that would get a boo is in Congress when you're saying that the government's bought by big money donors. And anywhere else in the world, they would cheer him. But inside Congress, that's how corrupted. Boo. And he said, go ahead and boo, because I'll be raising more money through small dollar donations, and I'm going to go right to the people.
He talked about that last night as well. He brought that up. By the way, we got a lot of things to cover.
Now, they're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff here, right? But Matt Gaetz, doing great work. If you haven't checked out this video, make sure you check it out. I talk about Gaetz going after the Speaker of House, how he got him ousted, all of that, and what Matt Gaetz is doing for the country, by standing up and fighting on his principles and getting other, congressmen to do it is remarkable. And it's something to be applauded, and it's something to be pushed further with your own congressman in your city, in your state. Make them do the same thing Matt Gaetz is doing, because I know I'm going to try.
Cover. Okay, a lot of things to cover. We got the Israel-Palestine issue that just took place. We'll talk about that. Want to get your thoughts on that. We got to talk about Matt Gaetz, McCarthy. We'll get into that as well. Donald Trump followers being targeted by the FBI. 2024 election story just came out. Hillary Clinton talking about there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the Trump cult members. We'll show that clip and react to it. Ron DeSantis jabs at Trump, says he would be a lame duck president if elected. Trump fears being poisoned using individual mini ketchup bottles. Polls about RFK. Curious to know if RFK Jr.'s independent run could pull from Trump or from Biden. That's a conversation a lot of people are having. Biden administration, Jimmy, you'll be very impressed with this one here. They have decided to build a wall, which is such an honorable thing to do.
Racist.
Good for
That's
them.
some racist.
Well, I hope they break all the environmental rules that they set up to do it.
Yeah.
Which that's the story, by the way. So then we'll talk about Ukraine. Curious to know what your thoughts are today with Ukraine, especially a story that came out saying fewer Americans support arming Ukraine. A poll that came out. Diversity numbers amongst delegates trigger alarm at DNC meetings.
Wow, they're going to go over a lot. There's going to be a lot coming out of this 2.5 hours. And so there's going to be a lot of content coming from me over this one podcast. So just be warned, guys, because I'm going to talk about a lot of what goes on in here. I respect every single person on this show, and including the guests, and this is going to be something that people need to be paying attention to.
And then we'll talk about ahead of 2024, felons are fighting to regain the right to vote. I don't know if this is felons. I don't know if it's a party trying to get felons to get the right to vote, but either way, we'll talk about it. Putin is saying America always needs an enemy. He's talking nuclear. He's talking big game. We'll play a clip, react to that. Your boss might just give you a raise for showing up to the office. Bosses are given raises if you work from office.
I was here early. I was here early, by the way.
That's why you got a raise.
Thank
you got
you.
a raise.
Let's go, baby.
And then Adidas, Kanye West didn't mean the anti-Semitic remarks, which I definitely want to get your thoughts on it. But I say we start off with Israel and Palestine. I mean, this literally just happened. How much are you following the story with what happened?
Not at all.
Okay, are you, Jimmy, at all following it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so
I just
this little,
saw
we
some
woke
stuff on
up to
Twitter,
it,
yeah.
and this happened. So why don't we read, Rob, if you got one of the stories or
How is
video
Tim
clips
not
to
following
show.
this?
Israel says it's at war after surprise attack from Gaza. Netanyahu even said we're at war. Did you say last week Hamas attacked Israel, 200 Israelis?
Hamas is claiming that last week alone 200 Palestinians were killed, and this is one of their payback attacks. But they planned it. It's a holiday. It's a Jewish holiday today, isn't it, Adam?
Well, here's what's going on. Last week was Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day on the Jewish calendar. It's the Day of Atonement, and this attack took place, talk about symbolism, on the 50th day of the anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, which was in 1973. So do you want to get into some of the details?
Yeah,
okay,
go for it.
ahead. Well, coinciding sort of with all this, I don't know how closely you guys pay attention to Israeli politics. It's not exactly I wake up and read Israeli politics, but I was just there. I took my mom for her first time in 30 years, and she lived on a kibbutz back in the day. I went for a wedding, and you saw the protests that were going on against Bibi Netanyahu, okay, Benjamin Netanyahu, who was the longest standing prime minister in Israeli history. I think this is his 16th year, his 5th term. It started in early 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s. He's been around forever. But the whole premise with him right now is he's sort of he runs the Likud party, sort of the Trump of Israel, basically. He's sort of the right wing there. And he's been, accusations of fraud and embezzlement and what have you. Whether that's right or wrong, that's the sort of what's going on. But where he's come under heat lately is because he's basically trying to reform the Supreme Court because he feels they're too liberal. So the platform that he's been running on is that he's the guy that's going to make Israel safe, okay? There's no doubt that whether you're left and right, because you go to Tel Aviv, it's very, very left. Like LGBT, pride, all that. You go to Jerusalem, and it's, as conservative as it gets.
Yeah.
So he's trying to reform the Knesset, Supreme Court, and the parliament over there, because he feels they've gone too liberal. But he's been running on the platform that he's the guy that's going to keep Israel safe. from what I'm hearing, because I text my buddy who I was at his wedding, he's like, yeah, this is, I thought this would basically make citizens coalesce, like sort of how like 9/11 happened here, and like didn't matter if you were Republican or Democrat. I said, what's your take on this? And he's not a Bibi Netanyahu fan. I said, will this make you appreciate him more, right? He goes, no, it's the exact opposite, because the entire platform he ran on was he's the guy that's going to keep Israel safe. So what you're kind of sort of hearing on the ground is what happened, Bibi. What's going on? This is not a good look for the IDF. It's not a good look for Mossad, who's the intelligence agency. And basically the story is this was sort of a coordinated sneak attack. It was land, air, sea,
paragliders,
right?
boats, everything.
They're going in there,
rockets,
and
everything.
Netanyahu has officially declared war on, just to be clear, Hamas. Now, how familiar are you guys with the concept of Hamas? So Hamas is a militant terrorist organization that the U.S. government has labeled terrorist. They're sort of a Hezbollah from Iran. And they were founded, I believe, in 1987 with the basic premise that they will never, ever, ever recognize the state of Israel. And they came from the origins, I believe, of the Muslim Brotherhood, which sprouted out of Egypt, I want to say. And they reject all peace agreements whatsoever. So now I think 5,000 rockets have been fired to Israel. There's been 500 injured, 40 dead. The Iron Dome that Israel has, that U.S. has sort of funded.
As of when?
As of this morning.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh no, it's crazy.
There's
Tim.
5,000. I mean, imagine.
It's bad. It's bad.
So I text my buddy just to kind of put it into context. I text my buddy. I said, "How you doing over there?" He goes, "I woke up to the sounds of sirens, bombs, destruction." I go, "How you doing?" He goes, "You know what?" And this is sort of like Israeli satire. Yeah. He goes, I had a taco party planned for today. Hamas ruined my freaking taco party.
That's the line, man.
Taco
I mean, it's like, how are you going to ruin my party? But
so funny.
The bigger thing that I think that we should understand here, as far as Israel goes and U.S. goes, because if you're in the United States, you're like, all right, how does this affect me?
Right, and I want to pause right there for a second because, I don't know I don't follow the Israeli politics. I mean, Adam is educating me just as much as he's probably educating half of you guys. And like I said, I don't follow the Israeli politics, but I do know that Hamas has, like he said, has said there will be no peace agreements. We do not recognize Israel, and it's basically they've, declared war on the state of Israel, and they will never give up. And so, with that kind of one-sided ideology, like that's what's the word I'm looking for here? Radicalism, right? That you just can't deal with those people, right? That there's just, like they said, there's no peace agreements. So what do? Right? You fight until they're all gone. Well, they'll never be all gone because there'll always be new generations coming up believing the same thing. You're not going to wipe out the idea. Right? You can kill a man, you can't kill the idea. So there's got to be some kind of way to settle this outside of Israel going away. The problem is leadership in Hamas will never, ever accept a peace agreement. And so, like I said, I'm glad that I, watch this because Adam is educating me on what's going on as far as the politics and stuff go. And it's helping me better understand it, and I hope it's helping you better understand it as well. And guys, I know we're into this video a little bit now, and let me know what you think about the video. What do you think about Israel and Palestine and the war that's been going on for God knows how long now, right? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, but let's get back to what Adam's got to say on this.
What Bibi Netanyahu has done is sort of recognize, I'm never going to make peace with these guys. It started with the Oslo Accords with Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat under Clinton in '93, and they've been trying to make peace with these guys forever. Hamas does not want peace. And you might be saying, well, who's Hamas? Are they the government? Well, actually, they have a majority of parliament. It'd be like literally the equivalent of, in the United States, KKK had more than 50% representation in Congress, which is insane to me. So the president, Mahmoud Abbas, he runs the...
Now, that's crazy now. But in 1940, 1950, that was probably the case.
Palestinian National Authority. But what Bibi has done, and this is ultimately my point, is he said, look, I'm not going to make friends with the 1% over here. What I'm going to do is open up diplomatic and peace relationships with the rest of the Middle East. And that's been his entire agenda. So they've had long-standing peace agreements with Egypt, with Jordan, which are their bordering neighbors. But since the Abraham Accords, which was under Trump in 2020, when he moved what he moved from the embassy exactly to Jerusalem, they've made peace with the UAE, with Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, and now in the middle of all this, I don't know if you saw that story, Wall Street Journal, Saudi Arabia is in the final innings of coming to a peace agreement with Israel. Saudi, okay, and Saudi has said they quote unquote are willing to raise the oil output to basically appease the Biden administration to get this deal done. Like Saudi wants to get this done. Why? Because they want security, they want weapons, they want intelligence. Israel, love them or hate them, whatever you want to say to them, they have the right to defend themselves. That's the whole thing. But when you talk about the Mossad and the IDF, when you talk about intelligence, talk about tech, you have this small little startup country that was since 1948 and is an economic miracle. And they're the ones that now the rest of the Middle East is saying, why would we want to befriend Palestinians and we should make peace with Israel? So the bottom line is, I thought this would sort of help Bibi, but this might end up hurting him. And how it affects the United States are all these peace agreements, specifically with Saudi Arabia.
Jimmy, how should the U.S. react to this? How should Biden, how should the President of the United States react to this?
I'm not an expert on Palestine-Israel relations. I don't know how I don't think it's ever going to be resolved. I don't see, at first I thought a one-state solution was the best thing, but that's never, and then I thought just two-state. And so I really am not the guy to talk to about this. But I do know that Israel has been bombing Syria. And no one gives a shit. And so they're just allowed to do whatever they want. I know they have a nuke. And so, but it's good to hear that Saudi Arabia and that they're starting to make peace. I don't understand why the other Arab countries, and I need it explained to me, why they don't do something about Palestine and why, in the Gaza Strip. Where is their responsibility to this?
And I'm no Israeli-Palestinian expert, but I've been there a bunch, and I know people, and I have friends, and this is Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. It's not even close. And so you ask, who are your allies? PBD is coming out with a book called Choose Your Enemies Wisely. Look, I actually empathize with the people of Gaza. They have a term called jihad, which is a holy war. It's a two-part war. One is the spiritual struggle internally, and one is the external struggle, which literally means killing people on behalf of your belief. But if you talk about allies, who is Israel's allies? Okay, we just said the peace treaties, but United States beyond that. Hamas is a Sunni organization, okay? But their allies are Iran. That's their major ally with Hezbollah and the militants that's going over there. So Iran, Syria, I believe Qatar, that's who they are in bed with. So you look at the rest of the Middle East, you're familiar with Sunni Shiite, Iran, the constant struggle with Saudi Arabia. They're picking sides. Just like you think, why don't Arabs all get along? Sunni Shia, this is a major thing for them. And it goes way deeper than anything we've ever known here in America, where Republicans and Democrats are constantly fighting.
Well, yeah, it goes way deeper. I mean, let's just use common sense and logic here for a second, right? Sunni and Shiite have been fighting each other for hundreds of years. The United States is only, 240 years old? So, hello? Well, 250 now? Somewhere in there? So, of course, it's way deeper than anything the United States has ever known. But it doesn't mean we can't relate, right? You can understand how infighting can hurt a country. We're seeing it right now here in the United States. So that doesn't resonate with me as much as I think Adam thinks it does.
It's never been stopping.
Tim.
I think the challenge for me, obviously, is I'm not hyper-focused on Israel-Palestine. I think
correct.
Everyone's saying the same thing. But the bigger picture Going back like 10 years or so, I remember when I think they did, what was it called? Protective Edge? I'm not sure what the campaign was, where it was described as many people on the anti-war left as mowing the lawn. I think it's a phrase attributed with what Israel does. Every few years they go to war. Yeah, it was 2014. There you go. So they called that the Gaza War in 2014. Protective Edge, that's right. And it was viewed, and many journalists explained to me that those, and again, I'm not an expert on this, they call it mowing the lawn, where every few years Israel is at war with Gaza to decimate and destroy their weapons, their supply depots and things like this. But the big fear is every time they do this, it antagonizes the Middle East and other countries that are upset over what's going on in Palestine. And at the time, there was concern that if Iran begins supplying more weapons or ups the ante in some capacity, one, it could lead to just obvious widespread destabilization of the region, which we're already not happy about. I think things have improved with the Abraham Accords and a lot of these peace agreements. My fear is this could seek to destabilize that problem. But the bigger issue I see now, especially with Ukraine and Taiwan, is we can't handle any more conflict escalating to this point. And this may be occurring because the U.S. is entering a new quagmire. For what reason? It's not been justified. I have no idea. What, Gazprom, gas monopolies, cutting off Russia from the Black Sea because we want to control the price of gas or something like this. Then you've got, as we're hyper-focused in Eastern Europe, China's flying, what do they call it, sorties or whatever, over Taiwan's air defense zone. And so I'm just sitting back like, either the media is just screaming in my face at the top of their lungs to scare me, or we are experiencing way too much international conflict and destabilization. And considering the politics of the United States and what's happening internationally with the civil conflict in the West with what they call the far right across Europe as well as the United States, people are calling it Civil War and World War III all bottled up into one. The last thing I need to do is wake up after this beautiful Friday night party with war is breaking out now in the Middle East.
Yeah. Well, I think, Tim, you make up a great point. This is the definition of whack-a-mole. You're focusing on Ukraine. Oh, what are we doing with China and Taiwan? Oh, look, the war going on in Israel. So it begs the question, what is America's role in all this? Are we the world's police? Do we get involved? Do we get involved in proxy wars? It's problematic.
Here's what we do. We back the fuck off. Let them fight. Let them fight. I'm sorry, but at this point, Tim is right. We can't get involved in any more international conflict. We've dumped billions and billions and billions of dollars into Ukraine and have gotten no results. And this administration doesn't give a shit because all they care about is how much money they're putting in their pockets from those billions of dollars that they're dumping into Ukraine. So what do you think they're going to do if we get involved in Israel and Gaza again? Do the same thing. And if China sees that the U.S. is spread that thin, they're definitely going to take Taiwan. And then we're screwed. Like, you people don't understand. Like, if you're watching this video right now and you're still kind of on the fence about what's going on, you need to pay attention and open your eyes. Because in the next 10 years, you could not be living in the comfort that you live in now. But as far as, Israel and Palestine, I say I know it's bad. We got to help Israel if they ask. But if nobody asks, I say we stay the hell out of it. Period. Like, look, I'm sorry. It's on you. Now, if you need our help, we can send you some planes or send you some guns or whatever. I'm not sending you troops. I'm definitely not getting into an international war with terrorist group, that you can't seem to handle. That's just, sorry, that's on you. That's like the Saddam Hussein thing. Like I get it, he invaded Kuwait. We should have gone in and stopped that. That's most definitely. But making up lies about weapons of mass destruction just so you could go after him again, that was bad. But I think the U.S. should back off and just stay the hell out of the Israel war. But I want to hear what Tim and Jimmy have to say.
America. So I think the Palestine-Israel is a different conflict than all the other conflicts, right? So Ukraine, Russia, China, these are all provoked by the United States, and what's happening in Ukraine is just a money laundering operation, and it's there so that we could have more liquefied natural gas from Western countries sold to Europe, and that's why we bombed the Nord Stream pipeline, and Joe Biden had predicted he would do it in February, right? He said if Putin has tanks that go across into Ukraine, we're going to end the Nord Stream pipeline. So that's what this was always about, and it was provoked. We provoked Putin to do that. But, what's funny is that everybody starts the story of Ukraine with Putin's invasion, but the way I tell it, it's like if Putin was standing at a bus stop and there was an old lady in the street and there was a bus coming right for her, and Putin pushed that lady down on the sidewalk to get out of the bus, the mainstream media starts that story. Putin pushes old lady down, and they leave out the beginning. Like, no, there was a bus coming, and he was trying to save. So they leave out the part that in 2014, the United States and the CIA instituted a coup in Ukraine with the right-wing Nazis, and the people in the eastern part of Ukraine didn't want to go along with that coup government, and so they resisted it. And so that coup government, the Nazis, started bombing the Donbass. There actually was a peace agreement called the Minsk Accords. Guess who broke that? Ukraine. It wasn't Russia. It wasn't Putin. It wasn't the people of the Donbass. So finally, after 8 years of shelling and 2 peace agreements that were broken, and the threat of putting Ukraine into NATO, and Putin said, hey, if you just promise me you won't put them into Ukraine, I won't invade. They wouldn't do that. Why? Because they wanted this to happen, because when they ended Afghanistan, they needed a new war for the military-industrial complex. So when people were giving Biden all that credit for ending Afghanistan, even though he did it horribly, people were still giving him credit. I was like, well, let's wait and see what he's going to do with that money that they've been spending in Afghanistan, because I bet they have another war up their sleeve, and son of a bitch, they did. It was Ukraine, which they've been ramping up for at least 8 years, and they've admitted that they've been doing this and ramping up and provoking this, and anybody who knows anything about it, this was completely 100% provoked. They wanted this to happen. They ramped up the bombing in February so Putin would invade. They doubled it. So that's what's happening, and the same thing, and if you think Russia and China, we have 800 military bases around the world. We just built 3 more in the Philippines to get ready for this saber rattling with China, and they just built a military base in Syria. As they call Putin a thug and a gangster for doing what he's doing in Ukraine, we are occupying a country right next door, a third of it, which third? The oil part, and we just built a military base there, and that's why they hate Trump, because he told the truth about it. When they asked him, hey, why are you leaving troops there? And he said, for the oil. It's our oil. They can't have he told the truth about our foreign policy, and that's why they got to get rid of him.
Yeah, a quick response to that.
Okay, before Adam gets into his response, Jimmy Dore hit it right on the head. I mean, he hit the nail on the head when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. I couldn't have asked for a better explanation. So if you didn't catch that, rewind this and listen to him say that again, because Jimmy Dore just explained the Ukraine war perfectly. Now, let's let me jump back just a few seconds so we can get Adams.
Yeah, a quick response to that. You're absolutely right. The Ukraine situation has been a marketing campaign to basically, most Americans could not pick out Ukraine on a map.
That's right.
Of just Ukraine. So I think what's going on in Israel and Palestine, the U.S. does not need to get involved in that. They might fund an operation. They might be involved. They're not going to have boots on the ground. They're not getting involved in that whatsoever.
Which is what I said should go on. So I'm glad that Adam sees it the same way I do. So thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you've made it this far, I really do appreciate it. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified anytime I drop a new video. Smash that like button if you like the content. Share this video on all social media platforms. Those interactions will show the YouTube algorithm that my video needs more impressions. That's how we grow the channel. I appreciate everything you guys are doing. I'll catch you later. Peace.